Welcome back to a very important anime adventures video. One that I get asked way too much, and I have been for about 4 updates now. Today's video is my tier list for leaderboards. So before I start, I want to kind of explain a couple things. One, I'm not just putting characters like up my ass and kind of deciding where and like how things work. I'm setting my tier list to what most of the leaderboard runs slash what I've seen everyone kind of run in the tier list, as opposed to just solely my opinion. It's worth noting, I don't have a favorite anime. I don't really care, nor do I really watch anime. So any bias between, what looks cooler versus, what's cool in a show, I don't really care. So I'm solely just a tower defense player that kind of has noticed there's a lot of unreasonable trend for picking really shit units in leaderboard runs. And I'm here to kind of explain my tier list. So another thing I'm going to mention before I start is that I've been a leaderboard player for a long time. I started playing when Ghoul came out because of my moderators kind of like putting me onto the game. Since then, I have always been really fascinated into running like top leaderboards for the game, and I've been top leaderboards a lot for a lot of maps. I think every map actually. I'm currently right now actually number 2 on the Clover Kingdom Infinite. I've also been number 1 for I think 6 weeks straight on Magic when it first released, and I've also been number 1 for the map before that and the map before that. So like I said, I'm not pulling like anyone's shit or like making this shit up. I have been doing leaderboards for a long time, and I feel like it's about time that I have a reasonable leaderboard tier list. I'm going to say this up front. No, I don't have the best traits for every single units, and I also don't have like 2 or 3 of them right now just because of the update. However, I still seen the use and perfectly can clarify like the dividing line between useful, not useful, and meta. So yeah, I'm going to be showing every single side of the unit, what my honest opinions on are on the unit. And for a lot of these units, I'm going to be showcasing just a tiny bit of their usefulness inside of leaderboard run. Yeah, without further ado, I am going to show you my tier list. Okay. Okay, so here's the tier list that I'm going to be using for the actual like tier list. I got this tier list from the anime wiki. Shout out to Mao for supplying me with this wiki. So yeah, I'm just gonna go down the line, kind of explaining every single person one by one. And yeah, like I said, if you have any disagreements, if you don't know exactly where it might fit, or if you have any questions on why I picked what, feel free to ask. Like I said, I also run a Discord where we talk a lot about these units and where they supply in the meta. Not just anime adventures, but the same goes for GPO and Blocks Fruits. So if you are interested in joining, the Discord is discord.gg/Tantra. Yes, I'm going to start with Fire Fist Ace. So Ace is kind of a tricky one to kind of start off with. He's been out for a while, and to be completely honest, he has never been really used in leaderboard run other than just kind of showing that, someone has him. I would kind of just explain to him to be like a showcase character. However, some people out there do kind of put Ace in the line with DPS, and at one point sure he was, but for the time being, all showcase characters I'm gonna put at a D. So starting off Ace with a D. Now the only reason I'm picking D is because I don't necessarily think he needs a rework. I also don't necessarily think that he is going to be ever touched on. So yeah, that is the only reason I'm starting off with the lowest for Fire Fist Ace. Aizen. Now, when Aizen first came out, Aizen had a lot of potential because for the effect, not being able to die for, I think, those like few seconds was like big. Everyone thought that this was going to be like the standard leaderboard run, and he did kind of require a lot of materials to evolve. And Aizen is really shit. I can't put him necessarily anywhere from S plus to D, so I put him in a needs rework pile because it's unplayable, and most of the time when you have an Aizen on your team, you're more likely to lose than to actually get into the game. So for the time being, Aizen I would recommend to be unplayable and requires a rework. Akainu. So Akainu has been used currently, both this update and the last update, for fire damage and also dealing air damage. I know a lot of people use them for magic because it completed the needing an air and needing fire damage at the same time for the ice. For that reason, Akainu will stay at a C, but with an extremely high SPA, it kind of changes the idea of how to use an air and fire at the same time. So most of the time when you're using Akainu, you are struggling to kind of find times for the actual unit to hit a successful land. So for that reason, Akainu will stay at a C. Akoku. Goku came out in a update after for Infinity Train with Rengoku. Yeah, Goku's pretty bad. I mean, unless you're doing Namek Infinite and then selling at wave 25 or whatever people do now, I don't really think Akoku is really used for anything, which is for one of the main reasons why I think he needs a rework. Even with a relic, he is pretty bad. So yeah, Akoku needs a huge rework. He's not useful in any situation, maybe story, but for the purpose of this leaderboard tier list, there's no real reason to use Akoku ever. So that's just, and I mean, most people can agree on that one. All Might. Now, I've used All Might in pretty much 90% of all my leaderboard runs, and to be honest, I would place All Might at S if it wasn't for the fact that there is another competitor that a lot of people don't appreciate just as much. All Might is still a very, very needed character in leaderboard runs, and you are going to be using him 90, if not all of your runs that you use or do on anime adventures. A lot of people think just because he has low DPS, he is extremely useless, and that is completely wrong. Even on new maps like the one that just came out in this update, it is extremely useful to bring. All Might has been useful, and it will continue to be useful until he gets some sort of enemy or unit that he can't really, hit between loop. If you're asking my advice, I would consider getting Godspeed on All Might or Divine. I do have a shiny Divine All Might, so take that how you will. Arima. Now, a lot of people are gonna get mad at me for this one, but Arima has had its time to show peak performance. Ghoul, I mean, I had one of the best Arimas that I think anyone even could get in the game. So Arima was just an absolutely destructive unit when it first came out, and even the next following update, it was still just as useful. Arima is one of those units that is picked somewhat for the reason that he's still cone AoE, but as time kind of progresses, the Riot Game developers of this game will just make more cone AoE units that will just kind of take over. So for that reason, I'm going to be putting Arima at B. Now, I know you're thinking a lot of people are going to be really upset about this, but like I said, I'm only putting this for the reason that Arima's technically not used at all. So using Arima would be useful if you're budgeting, like if you didn't have Kent or if you didn't have a cone AoE. That's the only reason he's at B. Armin. D. Blackbeard, So Blackbeard is kind of a different kind of like unit. With Megami and kind of the light, Blackbeard is extremely bad now. However, he's not bad if you don't have Megami. But at the same time, most people are going to have Megami, and you should have Megami in all of your runs. I mean, he's just kind of required. So Blackbeard is still a good alternative because he is a full AoE with a sort of smaller SPA. And you can play 6. So that is pretty baller if you aren't doing maybe like super progressive map, or you want to get full AoE just kind of generally everywhere on the map. So for that reason, Blackbeard is AC. Blue Devil came out as a leaderboard unit. So like I said, showcase unit. He was pretty useful for a split second on Magic when it first came out. However, I had tried it with all of my teammates, and I mean literally all of them that had Blue Devil, and just for that reason, it still didn't work out with Natsu in the way. So Blue Devil will still continue to be a D. Next we have Legendary Broly. So Broly is kind of an interesting character. Broly, at first everyone needed unique Broly. I'm not really sure why, when Divine was a whole lot better. But even with Divine Broly, and even with the changes that happened to Broly, he is still really weak. And I don't know if they plan to make a DBZ update, which is extremely overdue. But Broly is extremely weak currently in the meta, and not even worth playing. It's not worse than some of the D characters that I'll be showing, but it is not good at all for the same reason that Broly is generally just not useful in any situation. I know a lot of people kept trying to convince themselves to use Broly in Sand LB. The problem with that is that there's literally so many full AoEs that already exist that are way better than Broly. Super Chunks is better than Broly. So, I mean, yeah, take that how you will. For that reason, I say that he needs a rework, and he needs it pretty soon because he is really shit. Brooke is next. Brooke is pretty good. He came out this last update, and for Halloween event, he's still currently obtainable, so you are still capable of obtaining him now. He will be limited at some point, so if you haven't got Brooke, I think Brooke is a solid character. Now, the only problem with Brooke is that he's only useful for about 1 or 2 maps. And what I mean about that is, in order to proc Brooke's ability, he needs to attack a successful hit. So that being said, a lot of the times when you're going to be playing a leaderboard run, you are going to pick a specific spot on where, you know, certain line AoEs can intertwine, or where full AoEs can kind of work together in harmony. That being said, Brooke is kind of at a disadvantage because his range is really bad. So if you can take advantage of the range and still use him at the same time, then Brooke will be useful. But for now, I will set him at a B. Bulma. Pretty obvious. You don't really need a farm in leaderboard, but set it as an alternative if you do. Just putting it out there. Cell. So right now, Cell is extremely useful. Now, not as extremely useful as a lot of the new units that are required to run for leaderboard, but Cell Super Perfect is extremely useful if you are using physical damage. Now, don't get it twisted. There's a difference between physical and magic damage. Cell falls under the physical, meaning that he can only get buffed through Erwin. What this means is, if you're running a huge loadout with people like Yono and Erza Lightning, Yono is either not going to get buffed, or your Cell is not going to get buffed, depending on who is bringing what unit to buff. Now, if you're talking about Erwin, then Cell Erzar are going to be like more sought after. But if you're using something like Wenda, then stuff like Yono are going to be more useful. Completely up to you. For that reason, though, Cell is still really good. So I will be putting him up to the first S. of the list. So yeah, Diavolo. So Diavolo is a wild card character that I consider to be pretty useful. Now, a lot of people either don't have Diavolo or have never tried it. And for all those people that have never tried it, I would say get the character and try it yourself. Diavolo has been really useful, especially in some of the older maps and mid-tier maps. Try it on the new map. I did use Diavolo on the newest map. So if you don't think that Diavolo is useful, just letting you know, the top leaderboard player of the game right now, right here, did use a Diavolo in the run. So take that as you will. For that reason though, Diavolo is falling under the A category, extremely high up there. Now, Dio is next. However, I just want to let it be known that I don't think Dio is a good character at all. And I know he has a time stop. However, Dio currently, right now, is being outperformed by Jotaro. So if I were you, I would say don't pick Dio, pick Jotaro, because Jotaro is extremely fucking useful right now. Jotaro is really good if you can get sniper and a range curse on him. Now, I'm just gonna pretend this is Jotaro and not Dio. So Jotaro, the epic unit, is gonna go at B tier. I can't update this, so, and I've already tried, but if Jotaro was on there, it would be there, not Dio. I'm making sure that is written. Mr. Editor, please make sure that's there. Okay, so Eren Founder. Eren Founder is the wildest character in the game. He can be he's actually the shittiest character in the game. So he's the most horrible character inside the game unless he gets unique. Now, it's kind of a standard that if you're running a leaderboard run with me in my team, that you already just naturally have Eren unique Founder. I know how fucking corny that sounds, but I don't like spending like hours into a run and then just like getting outperformed just because someone else has a unique Eren. So I know this is kind of a hard one, but I would naturally put Eren as an S+. However, a lot of people aren't gonna, find Eren unique founders. So for now, I'm just gonna put him as an alternative. But just let it be known that if you have unique Eren, he is S+. If you don't, he's just unplayable. So don't play him. Erwin. So Erwin right now, I mean, he's, for the longest he's been S+. He's just been every single fucking where. And everyone has been using him for every single one of the reasons that he buffs a shit ton. And you can infinitely buff him for whatever reason. Erwin right now though is an A. Why? Because there's more magic units than physical. That's literally it. So Erwin just buffs physical unit attack damage, and the only problem is that currently in the meta right now, there's only more magic units than physical, and the magic outperform the physical, which means Erwin is parting away. Does that mean he's still bad? No. Does that mean that you can come up with a strat where physicals outdo magic? 100%. Just me as a personal user of Erwin, which also I don't have headless Erwin, so if someone wants to trade me that, trade me that. But Erwin is just a little outdated right now. That's it. Lightning Erza, S. Lightning Erza right now is extremely useful, and probably will be if we don't get any new hair units. Only problem with Lightning Erza is that she is slightly underperforming over some of the other units that are out right now. However, a lot of the maps, especially the new one, you're going to need a surplus of air, so you're more likely to pick Lightning Erza than you are a Supercell. However, that kind of depends. Again, are you buffing magic, or are you buffing physical? Yeah. True Heart. I don't know why there was so many dick riders for True Heart. This shit's ass. I don't care how high the DPS is. However, it's still a really good bleed unit. But if your plan is to use this in Ghoul, it's not going to be useful. There's a ton of reasons why. But if you're picking a unit just to play it in Ghoul, that's just weird, bro. B. Okay, so next is Valkyrie. Valkyrie falls in the same category. Still pretty good. Does a lot of damage, especially when it first came out. It was really good. I have a unique Valk, which is really bad. But even then, Divine Valks, they don't output the DPS that you think they do. And especially with the AoE being extremely enormous, it seems really useful, but just the DPS is outperformed by a lot of other things. So, not really ideal. So for that reason, put it at B. Okay, so next we have Ito. So Ito right now in the meta is kind of useful. However, the only issue is that Kent is already out. Now, a lot of people are like, why don't you just use Ito and Kent? And to that I say, why don't you do it? The only problem is Ito is really shit, so you have to get unique. So if you don't have unique, don't run it. But for the people that do run it with unique, congrats on getting wave 300 and spending 8 hours on Namek. But yeah, I mean, see, you can use them if you have unique. Geto. So a lot of people love Geto. A lot of people also don't realize that Geto's AoE is always getting in the fucking way of not getting all the damage it possibly could. So what does that mean? I personally think that Geto is a B tier unit. Now, let me explain why. A lot of the maps right now in the meta are going to require Geto to be doing a lot more damage off the rip to kill air. Now, I get that it can hit air at the end, but can and will, especially for maps where you're going to need the DPS up front, especially for the new one. You can't just rely on Geto at the end as opposed to using it all through the map while you're leveling your units. For that reason, Geto is a B. If it just naturally attacked airs to begin with, then I'd bump it up to an A. However, I don't like the AoE, and a lot of people that I run with don't even touch Geto. So if you farm for it, that's great, don't use it. Okay, so next we have Crush. Crush is pretty good. The only problem with Crush is that there's not really a whole lot of reason to use him. I know a lot of people are like, whoa, you like kill the shields or whatever. Okay, so does literally attacking any fucking enemy that has a shield. You're not losing that much time unless you're stretching your fucking run super hard. So for that reason, Crush's DPS is pretty solid 90% of the time. If you think he's really useful, he's probably not. And on top of it, I've heard this way too many times, but Crush on Sand LB is useful if you can figure it out. But on top of that, also not useful if you can figure it out. I've done Sand LB tons of times. I've got number 1 team about 5 times. So to be honest with you, I don't think Crush is useful on Sand either. But if you want to try it, go for it. Send me a video how it goes. Future Gohan, LB unit. I mean, it's more of a flex than a useful character. Not much to be said, just a D. It's just bad. Okay, so Gojo. Gojo is absolutely horrible. No, I'm just kidding. Gojo is obviously the best character in the game right now. There's no doubt about it. My Gojo has a limitless tier of 4, while someone else on my team has a limitless tier of 7. So Gojo at tier 7 is extremely fucking insane. And obviously with a natural, like, global stun, it's just unbeatable right now. Doesn't need a fucking nerf or debuff or something. Yeah, maybe. but also a lot of the fucking scaling on the other maps are absolutely ridiculous, so Gojo kind of helps out. So take that as you will. Gon. Now before you get mad and start fucking fuming in comments, I'm just letting you know right now. Think about all the units in the fucking game and think about the DPS that Gon outputs. I know that you have a unique Gon shiny. I know that you spent tons of remnant charge fucking farming for your unique Gon. But dude, Gon is just an A tier. If not, I would have put it at a B tier if someone hadn't convinced me that he is extremely useful on some of the new maps. But for that reason, Gon is just an A tier. I, in my own opinion, would have put it at a B because I naturally don't think Gon is useful ever. Now, with a like time where there wasn't enough air units, yeah, Gon was like kind of meta. But you don't even use Gon on like starter maps anymore. So I don't know. Take that how you will. Okay. So next we have Gray. I mean, Gray's just bad. He's not horrible, but he's not good on leaderboard either. So I put him at C. I mean, the reason why is just because he's just not useful. So yeah. Also, I just realized Ito is on D and I meant to put him on C. But yeah, just for anyone that's already typed this shit, I fixed it. Sorry. Okay. Hisoka is supposed to be a better Mochi. Now, if that's true, kind of falls into a different category. But in my opinion, I do think Hisoka is kind of a competitor to Mochi. So I would actually put Hisoka like at A. Now, the only problem is that a lot of people aren't going to be using Hisoka because they don't know how it functions or why it's so good. So I'll explain it to you really quickly. Hisoka hits and slows. And then if you have the correct SPA, it hits and slows. I'm sure if you have a Mochi user, you'll notice that when you hit Mochi and then you hit it again, it only slows once. And that's because there is a global timer that Hisoka doesn't fully register. So the reason for that is, by all means, I have no fucking idea why. But Hisoka hits, slows, hits, slows, while Mochi hits, slows, hits, misses the global stun timer, and then hits and then slows again later. So think of it as a reasonable way of avoiding those like slows over time. Now, obviously Hisoka is still gonna miss at some points because, you know, the timer is always gonna be interchanging by whatever effects you throw at it. But technically Hisoka should be more useful as a stun slow unit than Mochi will be as a burn slow unit. Now, if you're using magic though, and you want to use Mochi, then yeah, use Mochi because he burns. But other than that, you wouldn't be doing it normally. Okay, so next we have the Ichi Full Hollow. I mean, to be honest with you, I fused all of these that I had into units because I didn't want to farm. I mean, I still have like 10 of them, but they're really fucking shit. I mean, Ichi is just a bad character. I don't know why they would do. I mean, I haven't seen this anime, but from what I understand is this guy destroys worlds or some shit. For a character that destroys worlds, he's pretty weak. Okay, so Togu is a C. Now, the only reason I put him at a C is because he is slightly useful. He has a huge AoE, but the problem is that his fucking like SPA is absolutely ridiculous. So for that reason, Togu falls at a C category. He's still like a viable kind of stun, but just too long. Yeah. Itadori, normal. This is the normal one, not Sukuna. He's just bad. So D. You should evo him to Sukuna. Jelly. Jelly right now is not bad. It was pretty bad last update. Or sorry, 2 updates ago. But Jelly right now, since he is a magical unit that can be buffed by Wenda, is pretty good. So Jelly right now is at an A, and there's going to be a lot more use for him because he can be buffed by magic. But you know, like I said, if you pick if you pick Erwin or Wenda, is up to you. Kind of telling you to lean towards Wenda, but you know, just letting you know. Joker, Juozu. So Juozu was extremely useful in Ghoul. You needed at least 2 or 3 of them, and for some people that still hasn't left, me included. I still use Juozu in Ghoul, and I still use Juozu in Sand, or sorry, Snowy. Oh, actually, we do use Juozu in Sand, I think. But Juozu is still useful. However, technically you don't need to run it because there's people like Sukuna that naturally do it, and they take 2 like effects in one character. So Juozu is kind of a little outdated currently. Now, if they added something that maybe she could kind of like benefit from, might be useful, but she's already a cone AoE, so chances are that it's not going to happen. But Juozu is still pretty useful, so I will put her at a B. So Katakuri is one of the coolest fucking characters in the game, because he burns and slows. Now, how useful that is now is not at all, but at a point he was really useful. But currently in the meta, there is a huge decrease in people using Mochi, for the reason that you have units like Haruna and other slows that kind of outday Mochi itself. Now, if Mochi had some sort of like ability that like in the show where he uses Future Sight, that would kind of benefit the character in the game, that might be a little bit more useful. But currently Mochi's at a rapid decline, but for the reason that he's not like horrible and you could still use him in an actual leaderboard run, he will just go to B. Killua is really good right now. Killua is really outdated as well, but he's still really good in older maps behind Ghoul or Hollow. He is extremely like useful. He's probably an S tier. In newer maps where there's a lot more air, he's just, I don't know, he just doesn't work at all because he can't hit airs. So, which makes sense. For that reason, Killua is going to a B. Kisuke. Now, here's the big problem with Kisuke. Now, currently with Kisuke, they added a absolutely ridiculous kind of like full cone that when you place down is about the radius of like All Might, or just more than that, actually. About the radius of just like a farm in general or some shit. So Kisuke does take up a lot of space to place down. I'm not sure why they did it, but I don't necessarily disagree. I think Kisuke really did need a little nerf. Kisuke right now is extremely useful, extremely hard to get because it's extremely not available in the game anymore. Kisuke came out on the Hollow update, which was the Bleach update. If you didn't get Kisuke, there's no other way for you to get it until it is introduced in trading, if trading even comes out. And currently it's just not useful, or sorry, currently it's just kind of required for someone to at least run 1 Kisuke. I used to run 2 Kisukes, which was 3 divines and 1 unique. Right now it's not really fully useful or effective to bring 2 because of that just absolutely garbage radius that it takes now. So for that reason, he's still considered an S+, just because Kisuke is a must need. Like, you need Kisuke because of the absolutely destructive SPA that it naturally gives to everything, and range buff, and just everything on top. It just makes Kisuke a decent character, and it has a decent DPS for the character. There's not really much you can ask for support. This is definitely your S+ support. Kite. I mean, shit. Everyone fucking lost it when Kite Frenzy Unique was like a big thing. Kite is horrible. And I'll tell you why. The moment you put RNG into a character, it's just naturally bad. There's not much else. Yeah, Kite is good because, you know, you can rotate it and it'll get a shit ton of DPS in one of those moves. Kite's not good. I'm sorry. Sorry if that hurts your feelings, but Kite is just not good. RNG is bad. Adding fucking RNG to maps where RNG is already a factor on which boss you're gonna get, and you know, RNG on what kind of like units are gonna come out at what time. You know, you're adding more RNG, which is naturally just horrible. So no. D. Lelouch. So I know a lot of people that don't run LB always classify Lelouch as a kind of mid character now. You have to be smoking pot if you think that. Lelouch has been a fucking character where like it's just absolutely broken. I mean, there's not much to it. Lelouch is useful in every aspect. It can confuse, which no other character in the game can do, and it'll rewind units back, even if it's just a little bit. It is just enough to get so much damage off. There's a lot of other things that Lelouch kind of brings, which is just really useful if you get a really decent combo down. If you've seen my leaderboard runs on stream or on my YouTube channel, you notice that the big ones that I do normally have a Lelouch with a combo that we use all the fucking time. So if you don't know what that is, go look at it. Go fucking find one of those things. I'm telling you, Lelouch is going to be a character that you're going to require. If you don't have a Lulu, chances are you're not going to find one. So you're going to have to figure out a strategy where you don't use Lelouch. If you have a Lelouch unit, or you have someone that has Lulu, then you have to figure out how to build your Lelouch, or else it is going to be fucking garbage. Yeah, for that reason, Lelouch is S+. So Levi. Levi just got her buff. Got a damage buff, bleeds, and it, you know, with the crit. So it's kind of like Pito, but air. Pretty useful. Like, actually really useful. If you get Divine, especially, it's especially useful. However, are you gonna use it in a leaderboard run? I'm not really sure about that. I mean, yeah, like you can use it like maybe for a couple maps, like Hollow, I would think. But even then, I haven't tried that one in specific. I have used Levi in a couple other runs, and he is really useful. But as far as like air kind of like preferred unit maps, not really sure if he's totally useful, but for the, you know, most, he's pretty good. For that reason, he is going to an A. So we have Luci. Luci came out as a secret unit, which is just, it was just an absolute pain to get her. And if you saw my 200k Robux spending video, I got a lot of Lucis. And I mean, yeah, like it was just annoying to not get unique. And I'm so glad that even after, if I got unique, it was still gonna be horse shit. So yeah, Luci right now, not the greatest, still useful, but to be honest with you, I would say that it needs a rework. Luci doesn't work off SPA and works off the death of Luci. The death of Luci's units. So the only way it would be useful is if you were running a map like AOT, but even then it's not that useful. So if you're using AOT, or if you're using Luci in AOT, chances are, yeah, you might get like a round or two in, but I don't really think it's gonna be to the point where, you know, like it's absolutely like game breaking or anything shit like that. Nightmare Luffy, to be honest, I saw this and I thought it was just like a joke or something, but turns out it's actually real. I just thought it was a showcase character, tried it out, seems like a showcase character, so it's a D. Madara got a recent buff right now. He's actually not as bad as everyone thinks he is, but he's also not as great as everyone thinks he is either. So for that reason, Madara is at a B. Don't think that he needs a rework for a character that's that old, but he's still pretty useful if you don't have kind of like a unit like Natsu. Megami is an absolutely Giga Chad unit that everyone needs because, you know, everyone's gonna rotate Megami for the debuff that it applies. Is a 30% debuff for Shadow, which, you know, not really sure why they gave him such a high number, but the dark effect does apply and it is extremely useful. If you don't have leaderboard units, this is one that you definitely need, that you should go for. Now, you can just settle with Godspeed, but if you are gonna drop money, get Divine. It's gonna be useful anyways, so you might as well get Divine. For that reason, Megami is in an A. Miram. So Miram used to be really good. The only problem with Miram is that he used to be really good because there was no air units. So for a lot of like tiny tasks that people would run, Miram was like an all, like, you need Miram because Miram is extremely useful. Miram is just not as good right now, so for that reason he's at a B. Okay, Moria. Not really sure why Moria doesn't debuff with the dark effect. I mean, he literally ate the shadow fruit and he ate a dark fruit, so I'm not sure why he doesn't have the same effect as Megami. Moria is just not good right now. I mean, he's just really bad. He's somewhat useful, but most people can agree that he's kind of around a C or D tier. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to put him at a C because I've seen a couple people use it. I still don't think it's good. Yeah. Kent is at an S. So the reason I think Kent is really good right now is because literally every map Kent is going to be useful in, except for ones that you can't get over 100. Now, Kent's damage caps off at 100 waves. That still leaves him with a shit ton of damage. So for most people, Kent is going to be extremely useful. And if you're doing a leaderboard run, you're going to need Kent anyways, because he's kind of required. However, there are some alternatives to Kent, which I have seen. If you do want those alternatives, leave a comment down below and I can kind of show you. There is a secret alternative that I don't see a lot of people doing, but yes, Kent is really good right now. Naruto Beast Cloak. It got a buff a while ago. It is still super shit. Please fix it. Just, I don't know why people would take the time to farm something like that. It's just bad. Natsu. So currently right now, Natsu is the highest fire dealing damage DPS in the game, which is extremely fucking good. Natsu is really good for maps where ice, currently the new one has ice, and magic have ice. Even then, Natsu is still a decent DPS on base, but you know, with ice, he is probably the highest DPS in game because of the increased damage that he gets from attacking ice. He also gets buffed from Wenda because he is a magic user. So magic, Wenda, and the fire DPS leaves him to be a really decent unit, which means that I would consider Natsu an S unit because of how useful he is in game currently right now. Okay, so next we have Chairman Netero. He was really good when he first came out in the update. However, he's not as good as right now. I mean, he's not as good as he was. Even then, when Netero came out, he still wasn't like the best that you could get, unless you got unique on him, but even then he wasn't that great. So Netero is still currently useful, just not up there. So for that reason, he's B. Okay, so next we have Nobaba. Now, he came out as the first bleed air unit, and I know you're thinking, Levi's already an air bleed unit. Well, Levi wasn't a bleed unit up until this update. So Nobaba was the first one. Even then, it was not useful. I mean, just being frankly honest, like, it wasn't even good at all. And Levi completely outperforms it. So for that reason, I'm just going to put her at a D. Not useful, don't even spin for it. And to follow that up, Agony is also up there as well. Agony is just not useful as he was before. He used to be on an alternative for All Might. But to be honest with you, Agony is just not good. And that's okay, since it's a legendary. Okay, so Perona. Perona right now is actually extremely fucking useful. And when I mean really useful, I mean extremely useful. Like, Perona is really fucking good right now. Perona is a unit that you get from the Halloween update. And the only reason she's extremely useful right now is because she is a slow air unit. Now, does that mean she's insane? No, but she's the only character right now in the game that slows airs. So for that reason, she's really fucking good. And I put her up in an A. Okay, so Pito is pretty good. Highest DPS in the game currently, especially with the crit and the bleed. So for that reason, Pito is still really good. Now the only problem is, one, the skin's fucking horrible. I mean, I can't even lie, the skin is just absolutely garbage. But no, I'm just joking. Pito is just not as demanded as some of the other units, but Pito is really good for maps like Ghoul, or maps like Sand, or even maps like Snowy. Now, does that mean Pito is extremely bad? No, I just don't think that you're going to be using a bleed unit up until the next demand for a bleed comes in, which either might be this next map or the map after. No one knows for sure. I don't know, but to be honest, Pito is still going to be a really reliable DPS. So for that reason, I will put Pito at A. Rengoku. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Rengoku is fucking garbage. You haven't tried it. I mean, to be honest, you haven't tried it with Divine or with Sniper or just Godspeed or, you know, whatever it might be. Rengoku is really fucking good. And the problem with it is that Rengoku is just not demanded because his DPS is low. But Rengoku's fire also lasts fucking forever. And on top of it, his range is absolutely fucking massive. So if you haven't tried Rengoku, I would say try it with a decent trait that's fully leveled, and maybe even put a relic on it. I'm telling you right now, if you're going to do magic, Rengoku is a must use. I'm only telling you this right now because Rengoku is an absolute unit of a fucking character in game. So for that reason, I consider Rengoku an A. Now, has he always been like that? No, he was really garbage when he first came out, but he was still useful to update after. So yeah. Renzi, I mean, I have literally no idea why they keep doing this shit. Renzi was garbage. I farmed the shit out of him in Ghoul, and now I use him to just fuse units, to be honest. But yeah, Renzi is not good. Yeah, either show off unit or needs a rework, and I'm just gonna put it at D. So Rukia is really fucking like strong, just not as strong as it was before, or is not as strong as it was back then. Rukia came out in the Hollow update, I think, and Rukia was really fucking good at the time because she was the only unit that could freeze airs. Like I said though, once there's a unit that already comes out, then it'll be useful. Only problem with freeze is that a lot of fucking things you do freeze. Jotoro uses freeze. Just Gojo uses freeze. I don't know why it counts as a freeze effect. I know that the character itself is frozen, but I don't know why icicle freeze and just global freezing is the same shit, which means that people like Gray and Ruki are just left to sit at sea. I don't know why they do it. To be honest, I kind of wish that ice freeze and like global stun freeze was completely different. That way that you could like loop effects kind of like based on how you're kind of timing everything. But I don't dev the game, so it is what it is. Shanks is really fucking good. To be honest, a lot of people are like Shanks is extremely outdated. It's not true at all. Shanks is really good. He's the only like unit in the game that concusses, and he's just really good for that reason. His full AoE, damage from point A to point B, and on top of it, you can loop him as a combo with a lot of other units. So if you haven't tried it, I would say try the loop before you complain, and then complain if you're still against it for whatever reason. Farm unit, so for that reason, it's alternative. I mean, like I said, not really useful if you do that. Okay, so Coyote had a massive breakthrough when it first came out. Now the only problem with Tony Stark is that he kind of fell off, not gonna lie, and it's just kind of like a time thing, not that he's horrible. You could still solo him with could do every map with just Coyote. He's still really useful. The only problem is that Coyote's not that useful in leaderboard, and most of the time you're not going to be running Coyote at all. Actually, you're not going to run him on any map, because if you have Gojo, you're not going to run Coyote. So for this reason, I'm putting Coyote at a B. Sukuna. So Sukuna right now is the only character in the game where permanent damage effect over time is permanently kept. So for that reason, Sukuna is one of a kind and is used in every single run. Now, how many do you run? Probably just one, because it's not really the biggest DPS in the game, but is one of the kind, or it is extremely unique in the sense that it does its own effect that no other unit in the game does. So for that reason, he is going to be considered an S. Super Chunks. And Super Chunks is the correct name. Super Chunks is fucking garbage. I literally have no idea why they made this unit. I know that it's full AoE and that everyone thinks it's just insane. It's not good at all. If you take the time to farm for this, I'm sorry that you even took the time to farm for it. But people like me take their time to farm and wait until the unit actually gets like showcased. So no, I think it needs a rework. I think that either it needs to go into a circle AoE and do more damage, or if it's gonna do full AoE, be tweaked on the DPS itself or the way that the full AoE kind of functions. And I know what you're saying. How would you change the way that AoE functions? Well, take Gohan for example. When Gohan attacks, he hits multiple attacks. He's hitting at least 4, I think. When Chunks attacks, it's just one attack, meaning that if you attacked and hit a shield, it would just go down 1 tier in the shield. That's what I mean. Tatra. So Tatra Ignite is not actually as bad as people think. It was actually pretty useful for magic. If you haven't tried it, then you have literally no idea what you're talking about. But it did get a small buff recently. Tatra is not that bad, but it's also not that good. So for that reason, I'm going to put it at C. Ulquiorra. Now, a lot of people got mad at me because I was running Ulquiorra in my run. And I don't blame you. I know that a lot of people get mad that they're like, oh, why were you running Ulquiorra? Oh, is Ulquiorra meta? I mean, I literally have a clip where I think someone was like copying Sintra's LB run for Sand because Ulquiorra is in it. Dude, I just use Ulquiorra for the meme. It's still good, and it got an insane buff when a fucking update came out. I have Divine on it, which is really good, but yeah, I mean, it's only fucking like, it's only like B tier. I mean, I just used it for the meme. Uryu got her buff this update. You got a 30% buff with a crit scaling attack. So is it good? No. Not really. It's decent, but not really that good. You can solo a lot of shit with it, and it crits. And if you got an SPA like curse, it might be useful, but it's just, I don't know, it's just too much of a risk. Crits are, I don't know. Yeah, no, put it at a B though. Not that bad. Here comes a giant unit that people always oversee. The most overslept on unit in the fucking game. And I'm talking about Whitebeard. Whitebeard has for the longest been said that he is the worst fucking unit in game. And Mao, I know you're watching this video, but Whitebeard is not a bad unit. And everyone gave me shit because in our magic run, we used to run Whitebeard. Whitebeard used to be such a shit on character that literally everyone just assumed Whitebeard was garbage and never ran Whitebeard. Well, I am here to tell you that Whitebeard is one of the premier leaderboard running units. Now, everyone always complains about, oh, well, you have to click a button to use the effect. Yeah, no shit. You have to do that for a lot of shit. I mean, if you can't do that, then you can't do leaderboard runs, because that's literally what divides winning and losing a fucking run. But Whitebeard, if you don't know what he does, is a full AoE unit that causes knockback within its own radius of the AoE, which is just like Shanks. I mean, it literally does the same shit like that Shanks does, except instead of stunning, he knocks back. Now, this doesn't get like any air. Obviously, there's no unit in the game right now that knocks back air, but Whitebeard is extremely useful, and if you haven't tried it, you have to try Whitebeard. I'm not making this up. I've been using Whitebeard for a lot of my runs, and he is the only other unit right now that I think competes with All Might, even after the fact that All Might got buffed. Whitebeard got buffed as well, but not as big as All Might, but Whitebeard is still really fucking useful. So for that reason, I'm going to give Whitebeard an A. And yeah, so Yuto. A lot of people are gonna get mad because they have a unique Yuto with like an insane curse SPA. But to be honest,
I don't care that you broke.
I don't really care. People that use Yuto, yeah, it's good for a little bit, but to be honest with you, like you don't ever really do it. Like you don't do as much damage as you think you do, and it's just an insane SPA. Like it really is. I know what you're thinking, yeah, but you're doing a shit ton of damage every attack. Well, that's the thing, is when you're doing a leaderboard run, it doesn't really matter. You need to kill shit as fast as possible. If you're doing attack over time, then yeah, it might do a lot, but you need to kill it as fast as possible because you need to move on to the next unit to kill and kill and kill. For that reason, I'm gonna put Yuto as an A. Now, people can't argue that Yuto is an S, but I just don't see it, and a lot of the people that I run with also don't see it. Not that I haven't run with a unique Yuto. I've ran like a Marine with like everyone using unique Yuto, but the thing is, even then it wasn't as good as you would think. So yeah, Kuma is the new leaderboard unit, which if you haven't seen the video for it, please check out my new video. It is on my YouTube channel. It's me showcasing the brand new leaderboard unit. I have 4 shinies, 2 normals. But yeah, it is still a show off unit, so I'm still gonna put it at D. Not as bad as some of the other units if you are interested in the stat values, but not as useful as I would want it to be. So yeah, Lucky is pretty good. Lucky is kind of an interesting character right now, but yeah, if you can get Divine Lucky, it is pretty good. So for that reason, right now Lucky is an A. Now, if you want to know more about Lucky, I will have a video coming up soon on how to use Lucky and how to kind of like manage Lucky in game. The only problem is that with the new update and the new map, you're not going to be really using Lucky as much as you think you are, but it is still a good useful unit to have, possibly in future updates or for old runs in the past. So yeah, new, honestly, to be honest with you, it hasn't been the best for this character. I know he's one of like the new ones, but he just isn't as useful as you would think. For that reason, I do think he's above Agony and Nobaba, so I will put him as a C, but just still not as good. Noelle is the only character in game right now that does water damage, other than I think Kent maybe. But yeah, Noelle is pretty good. The only reason I say that is because against fire units, which are most likely to kill you in game if you're not taking care of the air correctly, Noelle is probably going to be helping you a lot. I'm considering the one with Valkyrie armor. I'm not really sure the other choices that you'd have, but Noelle is pretty good with the Valk and Aquarius armor. So yeah, for that reason, I do think Noelle has a useful purpose, but how useful that will be is kind of unknown. Dark Asta is pretty decent in the meta right now. He is what I would consider like a beat stick kind of damage dealer. However, I don't necessarily think that he is up there like with some of the other units, so for that reason I will put him up as an A. Tengen, just I feel sorry for anyone that did rooms. I didn't do the room, so I didn't get the unit, but he is pretty bad right now. Just not useful at all, and just don't trade roll on him. Okay, so Wenda. Now keep in mind, currently in the meta you are comparing Erwin with Wenda. I know what you're thinking. Wenda takes 3 buffs to infinite like loop, and it might not even be an infinite like kind of loop, while Erwin only requires 2. However, Wenda does a 30% increase and Erwin does a 15% increase, so you're doubling your damage. as far as buff wise. The only problem with it is that, yes, I would normally pick Erwin if it wasn't for the fact that it's doing 30% more damage and the majority of all the meta units are going to be magic based. So the problem is that, no, it's not the fact that it's biased towards, or no, it's not biased to like new characters. It's just the fact that Wenda is just more useful currently in the meta, and on top of it, she's going to be dealing a lot more damage than you would in Erwin. I already have Sniper with a extremely great range trait, so my Wenda is absolutely fucking amazing, and I can vouch Wenda is better than Erwin. And it's not that I don't have a range trait on my Erwin, I also have Sniper and an extremely good range trait on my Erwin. So which one outperforms? In my favor, I would say Wenda. Yami. So Yami is a extremely long AoE. Really just, I don't know, just weird character. For that reason, he's only good on like one map. And yeah, that's literally it. He's just good on one map. So for that reason, I would also say that Yami is a B. Even though he is the secret unit, I don't think that necessarily he was one of the best choices to kind of make. I've never seen this anime, but at the same time, from what I understand, he is not as powerful. So Yono. Yono right now is an absolute unit of an air damage beat stick. Yono is, at least mine is hitting close to somewhere around 80,000 damage for a 9.6 second SPA at 4 with a relic that I still haven't put on him yet. He's going to be doing a lot more damage than you would think. So Yono right now is a really good fucking unit, and if you don't have it, try and get really good stats on him and then get Divine on him. He is a really fucking good unit. If you don't have him, I really suggest making this unit one of your priorities if you plan to do the new one. Take a good look, you'll notice that a lot of these units are not actually characters that you probably have or have thought about getting. Some of you might have all of them, just like me. But the thing is that a lot of the units that maybe you thought you've used, okay, so a lot of these units might be a lot lower or higher than you would have thought. Like I said, this is just based on my opinion. Like I said, I've run a lot of leaderboards in the past, and I've spent a lot of time doing them, especially. And I've run with a lot of other people that, you know, come from other games, especially like Bloons Tower Defense 6 players, or just like people that, you know, like play tower defense games religiously. Obviously, I like tower defense games and I play a lot of them. Now, that necessarily hasn't been my main game, but I have run a ton of them to the point where this isn't the first leaderboard that I've hit in. I've been on All-Star Tower Defense's leaderboards tons of times in the, you know, whatever, 2-3 years ago or whatever the fuck it was. But it was kind of my thing to kind of hit leaderboards, and take that as you will. My kind of like background might mean absolutely nothing to you, and this leaderboard might be complete dog shit to you, and I will hear you out. Don't get me wrong, like I'll completely understand. I'm just saying, for someone that has run leaderboards consistently ever since I started playing with a ton of other people that are also top players and also have unique and divine and pretty much every single unit that they require it on, this is what we usually overturn with. It's not that someone else is beating us, because most of the time we are number 1 on the leaderboard, and I have a ton of people asking me, what the fuck do you fucking use? And this is what I use right here. Now, has it changed? Yeah. Will I share most of my strats? No, I don't think I will. But can you probably figure out using this leaderboard or tier list? Then yeah, you probably will be able to. Now, there are a couple wild cards, and I know a lot of people aren't gonna have things like Diavolo, a good All Might, or a good Whitebeard, but now is your time to try and get them. So if you haven't got them, go ahead. Let me know how it works for you. If you do need help, again, my name's Sintra. My Discord is discord.gg/Sintra. My YouTube is youtube/Sintra, Twitter/Sintra, and my Twitch is twitch.tv/Sintra. or Sintra. I don't know, whatever you guys fucking call me. I don't even know anymore. But yeah. Thank you for watching. Again, let me know what you guys think of the leaderboard in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys have opinions or questions or things that you guys might want to know. I'm going to be reading the comments. I already know that I'm going to have a lot of people get mad about it. So if you're going to be like one of those fucking keyboard warriors that's just losing their shit because their favorite anime character is lower, go eat one, bro. I don't care. But yeah, thanks again. I'm Sintra.